discover something in us that is not influenced by we have found ourselves. In order to know that there is something inside us that is not changing, the mind should know what is changing. Their mind has to get that knowledge, and the mind must know with reference to what is changing. Here everything and here nothing is changing. So the mind is aware of the both. Then what happens, because the mind discovers it is permanent peace and happiness, the mind merges into that. That is what we understood. Emptiness is the first. No doubt, silence, emptiness, nothingness, what Buddha speaks of. But problem is there. Okay, I merge into the nothingness. The Buddhism says there is no soul, no self, nothingness. But who knows there is no self? Who knows? So our journey goes a step further and we witness here is nothingness. So that nothingness pertains to the mind, objectless state. Then it realizes that when any object or images appears in that mind, my mind identifies with it and claims this is me. Hence, now I go to the next step. Now I see that I am, for example, I am an ocean, and it is the same water. That water is becoming an ocean, waves, foam, storm. So now I see the unity. I see the unity. So non-meditator sees everything is changing, and I am the changing identity, and there may be a changeless identity. Reverse this. Meditator sees that there is a true nature of permanent peace, happiness, truth, love, and wisdom, out of which every change is happening. That is the ultimate. So, but first journey is that we should find out that state of emptiness and nothingness or the silence. You stand before the mirror. Mirror does not change. But you see the image in the mirror. What is the journey of meditation? You see me, but you see into the mirror. That is the journey. We have to see into ourselves. We see ourselves. Mind says, I am the body, the mind, the intellect, the ego, desire, pain, pleasure, and the rest of it. Okay. Our master says, okay. See into it. We stand before the mirror, we see our image, we see into the mirror, we see all the objects, we look at our honey, but we look into the mirror. Can we look into ourselves? Can we look into our? When we look into ourselves, the moment we start looking at ourselves, the mind says, fulfill this desire first. Why you are going there? There is no need, there is nothing. Why the mind says this? Because the mind has been for millions of years looking outside for pleasure. So it says there is nothing there. So from that idea, the Buddha says there is nothingness. Okay, there is nothing. Mind says you, okay, be with the nothingness and see what happens. So be with the nothingness means what? The mind that is searching for pleasure outside should start moving inside. See that? Clarity. We are not, we do not stop eating pasta. I like it, so I eat pasta. But the very search for pleasure, happiness in that pasta is gone. I am 100% sure when I eat pasta because the mind likes it, I will enjoy it and it will remain for a few minutes, then it will go away. From that understanding, the master takes us to the fifth, no, sixth step. What is the step number six? Is the inherent defects of pleasure that covers the real self. How it covers the real self. One example. Mirror, I see into the mirror. My image appears into the mirror. When I see myself into the mirror, the weight of the mirror does not increase. The height and the color do not undergo any change in the mirror. You leave the mirror, mirror is blank. That is the nature of our true self. Nature of the true self. But mind says you change. Mind says you change. Why the mind says you change? Because we live in ignorance. It is the easiest thing to understand, but it is the most difficult to hold this principle in the mind 24 by 7. That is the problem. Easy to understand. Mirror does not go any change. Okay. So, how to understand that? So, we give an example of it. Take an example of a smartphone, and then we will draw a conclusion, and then we will continue with inherent defects of pleasure and self esteem. So, smartphone. You can take my picture, even we are in a virtual session, by the smartphone. Even if you take the picture, the smartphone remains with you. It does not jump and come to me. You talk to me, yes, on the phone, you can do so. The smartphone does not come to me. To watch videos, two things happen. Mind does not go anywhere, even if you take picture, call, text, messages, videos, anything. Clear? Where I'm taking to you to? The mind does not go anywhere. Picture and it is stored in the mind. We have to have this understanding clear. This crazy mind does not go anywhere, but we claim it goes everywhere. Just see that. The mind does not go anywhere. No, no, It goes to India. No, it does not go to India. It imagines about India based on the past memory. But the mind is still here with me. Once we clearly understand this, then the principle of pleasure becomes very easy for us to understand. This mind does not go anywhere. It is a smartphone. Second thing, it is a mirror also. So, by comparing it with the smartphone, I understand what is the garbage is stored there. Let me delete it. And then I see it is a mirror. Because I don't see it as a mirror because the garbage is already stored there. I heard that even if you delete all the messages and call details and the videos and the images from the smartphone, these spying agencies can retrieve everything. That is our vasana, past impression. That is what the sin causes. That is what causes the sins in our life. Yesterday I was contemplating, so I was laughing. Oh, this is how the mind is revealing the knowledge. I said, no, let me share with you. You see, so mind is camera. No, mind is smartphone. And the mind is the mirror. So unless the mind becomes the mirror, we cannot find out if the pleasure uh, is necessary in my life or not. Once this mind acts like a mirror, we realize that pleasure was necessary to give me an idea of permanent happiness. Because if I get the pleasure, then only the mind thinks, is there anything which is permanent? Can I continue the journey? Can I work on something to discover the permanent peace and happiness? But at present, pleasure is causing a problem to me. So, what problem it causes? What problem it causes? So, we see in the world we marry, we divorce, we remarry, we divorce. So, it means the pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain. This is how the mind is moving in a cycle. We went to see the snowfall that always happens in Arizona also. It is only 2 hours drive. So we saw the weather 3 weeks ago. We took pictures. You see that. So the previous pictures are already there. So we continue to accumulate the impressions. Unless we delete all those files, and the files that are also deleted, it contains those impressions. They both are responsible for causing the ignorance by making the mind run after the things, and we forget ourselves. So the question comes, should we continue seeking pleasure or discover our real self? It's simple. Second question comes that why mind is seeking pleasure. Simple answer that I want to avoid pain. But from where the pain comes? Is the pain the other side of the pleasure? It is the same. They are the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Answer is yes. So it means when the mind is seeking pleasure, tell the mind, be prepared for pain. We have to educate the mind. Be prepared for pain. You have the most luxurious home, the world best mattress for seeking pleasure to the body. After a few weeks, your spine will become stiff. It is natural. We get the mind says, aha, today I got the most deepest pleasure, physical pleasure. But after a few days, the mind starts seeking again. We don't realize that mind is repeating it. And ultimately, the pleasure will drop down. It will decrease. I will lose interest. And then it will take me to pain. So remind yourself, first step, that is why we should know, we should have a right knowledge of the real and the non-real, I am and the I am not, material world and the real world of my true nature. But then we should also understand, because that real self should continue to remain in my mind. I hold on that real nature, knowledge of the real self in my mind, and continue to do my nitya and the namitya karma. Then big problem comes. Okay, I'm doing all the nitya and the namitya karma. Honey, I have fulfilled all my responsibilities. I am very dutiful. And still you are nagging me? That is the third step. We have to get rid of that ego sense. So, what from where the ego sense comes from the desires. So, we should have a binding desire and unbinding desire. So, we clear our understanding in the mind. Now, see that. Now, the mind says, I'm so much relaxed. I perform my duty for the sake of the duty. No ego sense. So, ego doesn't disturb. I live with unbinding desire. So, in the first four steps, the mind is more or less start understanding and living into more deeper peace, calmness, joy. It finds lot of free time. Otherwise, the mind is constantly nagging you. Your honey said this, and who said this? We have performed our duty, finished. That is whatever you say me crazy, I'm happy. You say I'm good, I'm happy. Why? Four steps. No ego sense in the third step. Yes, when you say something that crazy, I recheck whether I perform my duty or not, and if there is anything left, I perform it. So I say goodbye. That makes my mind crazy living in the personal, professional, social life. But then the master digs deep down about the sins and the virtues that we covered perhaps last time. So, sins and the virtues, how those sins are done, and what should be done. But all these sins caused by the desire for pleasure, so pleasure seeking mind. So, here we are in the sixth step to know about this pleasure. Pleasure. So, going back to the smartphone and the mirror, we understand now that mind, because of the pleasure, prevents its awareness on the real self because it takes over. When it takes over, so we have to go little deeper into the pleasure, that how come you are coming when I'm on a journey. Normally people leave the journey at this stage. Normal. I see, oh yes, now I have understood. When I know that I have, you are not saying that you leave eating pasta, which gives me a pleasure. So then I have understood it. Normally people leave. It's okay. That is what is the journey. Go back to the pleasure. What happens when the mind works like a mirror? The image appear and image disappear. Pasta appear, leads me to pleasure. No impression is created. Pasta eating is gone, pleasure is gone, mirror is as it is. But that mirror does not remain as a mirror, it becomes a smartphone, it carries those impressions because of the association. Because mind instantly associates. Mirror does not associate, but camera associates. It keeps that impression intact. Mirror does not say I like it and I dislike it, but we have already created an image, an association in the mind. That association undergoes a lot of processes deeper inside the mind, and it creates a pleasure seeking mind. It creates a pleasure seeking mind. Can I become aware of every moment that the mind is taking deeper inside? You are driving, you see a beautiful girl. Normal. It's a normal for our conscious mind, but no. Whether that conscious mind is acting like a mirror or acting like a phone. So when it is acting like a mirror, then what happens? Nothing happens. One beautiful girl, second beautiful, third, fourth, and you say, okay, this world is beautiful. It has nothing to do with me. But if it acts like a phone, then you see another woman, and the mind says, she is not as beautiful as the one that I saw while I was driving. It is happening subconsciously. So, because of the two women, we have millions of impressions deposited. I saw my son was telling me, and he sent me a picture. He modified that picture through different apps in the phone. That is why, you can just take the picture and then you can brighten it and you can create into a sketch-like picture, something. That is what is happening to the mind, and we do not know. So it creates millions of duplicates. So those are vibes, those are triggers. We do not know why it happens because of the step number 5, because of our vasana, sanskaras, because that vasana is already there, present. They got mixed up. They create a small vibes, and then the mind says, now I have to seek pleasure. No, we sometimes ask, after all, I never wanted that kind of a pleasure. I never wanted to take the drug because I never wanted it is millions. At least one thing we should understand, this mind is more powerful than our smartphone. Even if we have the highest processor, it so that is what happens. But that processor takes its impressions from the step number 5 that we have discussed last week. We are understanding with the clarity, then what happens? My eyes, my all 5 sense organs, I infuse my awareness all the time in order to live my life, not to create further impression, because I want to discover myself. From today, I live into that awareness. When I live into that awareness means what? I live consciously from moment to moment. I live consciously. And first 5 steps are going to help me to live consciously. Do you see that? See the beauty. See how this master takes us to. Hmm? Then this master says, pleasure seeking mind causes all the suffering in our life. But when I live consciously, step by step, moment by moment, you see that I had to buy one speaker system because I'm giving lot of virtual sessions. So I was googling out, and I was also aware of the impression being created in the mind. The mind says this is good, this is better, this is the best. This this is cheap, this is costly, this has all these capacities and etc. and etc. You have to simply become aware of it. So in the morning, my mind pulled me to go to Amazon, click, and order. This is how the pleasure works. But because you are aware, you have the utility, no issue. No issue. That is a little subtle nature of the mind. That is why we need to keep the mind pure and focused. We have to live consciously. Then this pleasure comes and goes, doesn't work uh, over you. The pleasure seeking mind does not dictate over you. I'll repeat it in a different way, but understand all the 5 steps are the inherent defect of the pleasure. I like something, I dislike something. That comes by default. So objects are outside. Sense organ has seen it. Likes and dislikes are there in the mind. It repeats itself in the mind. It causes the attachment and detachment. Attachment and detachment for the sake of pleasure now causes the delusion. And because of the delusion, I become the doer and the enjoyer. Do you see that? Take it again, understand this part again with the clarity. The moment you see that, come on, go to that restaurant to eat the pasta. So I'm the doer. Why am the doer? Because I want to be the enjoyer. So simple. I do everything for the sake of enjoyment, for the sake of pleasure. Do you see that? I'm the doer because I want to be the enjoyer. So that enjoyer enjoys and forgets, and the mind says, again, become the doer. Why become the doer again? Enjoyer. Again, the pleasure is gone. No, let me become the doer again. Doer, enjoyer, doer. Now, see, in that light, if you understand the previous five steps, oh, the mind says, my goodness, this is what is how the mind is causing me the pain and the pleasure. Do you see? Doer and the enjoyer is nothing but the delusion. What appears as if I am the doer, I am not the doer. The eyes are not the doer. I'm not my eyes. I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm not the intellect. How can I be the doer? How can I be the enjoyer? Answer is I have to live consciously. Let me play my role as a doer. Let me play my role as enjoyer. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. You made coffee, honey? Very good. She was asking, is tasty? I said, very tasty. I became the doer and the enjoyer. Tasty and enjoy. Finished. Why? I have to perform nitya karma. I am aware, live to eat or eat to live. Finished. I have to live consciously. We are making a very higher and deeper and subtler journey. Now, in that state, the pleasure seeking mind does not return. Do you see that? No pleasure seeking mind because you drop the doer. That doer is a play and a fun, that enjoyer is a play and a fun, and you are working the same way outside, but inside chains. One reason the master gives, another reason is also valid. Why the mind is seeking pleasure? Because I feel hollow inside. I feel lonely inside. I feel empty inside. We never look inside. We are obsessed with pleasure seeking outside. You hold on to the pleasure sometime and you will find I don't see anything inside. I'm hollow inside. I'm lonely inside. So the mind pulls me out instead of in. The first step will work. Acquire the knowledge of the real self and not self. The real self is full of peace. It is within me. As you have started repeating, yes, the real self is within me. So I'm holding on that knowledge that the real self is within me. Question of hollowness and emptiness doesn't arise. Mind, you need not to worry about it. I will work on myself. Don't bring all the past impression. Don't repeat the things as you have repeated hundreds of times for seeking pleasure and know that pleasure could not be maintained 24 by 7. We are trying to grasp what the master is saying. The master is saying there is an inherent defects in the pleasure. Inherent. Where is the pleasure? Inherent. So when I hold on this knowledge in the mind, I'm working the same way as I'm working before, but I'm now living consciously. And now I prevent the mind to create many replication of the picture that I have taken for the first time because I'm living consciously. I'm not the doer and the enjoyer. I don't build the ego sins. Do you see that? So when you see that, so everything is calm and relaxed. The mind is not agitated because of pleasure. Mind is not excited because of the pleasure. Last week she cooked some. We put some chickpeas into the vegetables and we fry it. Pakoris,
Yeah, yeah.
pakora.
Pakora.
How it is, I say, it's tastiest, most tasty. Just you are not the doer, you are not the enjoyer. Then what happens? Even simple rice comes and you eat it because you are holding on. The knowledge live to eat and eat to live. And again, you are holding on the knowledge, nitya and the namitya karma. And you are holding on, then you are not the eater, you are not the doer and the enjoyer, and the pleasure seeking mind disappears. By understanding, by understanding. So, this is part of the knowledge, and then you practice the last practice that we have done, continue that. So, what happens to that? We are practicing, the mind remains settled in that wisdom, and you live your life with these principles. Huh? You take a leap in the journey of self discovery. Yesterday, I received an email. Subject meditation request. Matter request meditation.
I don't understand.
I received an email from a person, I don't know, and the subject only two words, meditation request. And in the email, request meditation. What should I do with it? So I sent 3 and 4 PDF files about meditation, about myself, and about the practices.
Why?
And I know I will just
Just
send it for the sake of
if
sending.
you got request, you have to provide number of your credit card.
That is one option. That is definitely one option. And then I said, what should I do? What should I do? For the sake of pleasure, that guy might be working so hard, and that is why he is stressed, and he is looking for a meditation and only 2 words. The mind writes millions of words for the pleasure. I said, forget about it. So, reminder comes again. What is that reminder? Sadhana. Do you remember? Sadhana means I have to become aware in my mind what is not desired and what is desired. That is the meaning of the sadhana. Upaya, second word that we normally use, the upaya. Upaya means I pick up a device, I pick up a step, and I do it until the change takes place, then I leave the step. We do quick and fast breathing that purifies the mind, but we cannot do this quick and fast breathing 24/7. We cannot chant mantras 24 by 7. Once this mantra, we have to do it 24 by 7. Once that mantra changes my mind, then I have to leave it. That is also upaya. So we always use, not many people understand this journey of the self discovery when we say sadhana. Sadhana simply, the most important part of the sadhana is what is desired and what is not desired. Pleasure seeking mind is desired. So we have gone deeper, we have understood, and we know pleasure seeking mind is not desired. I'm craving for pasta, one example, because that will meet my hunger. Hunger can be met by any food. What is desire, not desire. But the mind is craving for it, so I have to use upaya. I have to use some step. Mind is making me obsessed. I have to use it consciously. So let me do it couple of times. For example, breathing or hammering that we have done in many practices. So when we do it, I feel a kind of freshness in the mind and the brain, and then I feel hungry. Pasta is too far, so I eat what is available and I meet my hunger. So mind is no more. At that time, I change the mind and I say, now I have understood. So we have to do it consciously, repeatedly, commitment. So third part, Patanjali uses abhyasa. Abhyas vairagya abhyam tannirodha. And that is what I say, a regular practice with wisdom. So what is abhyas? I'm holding on the mind on the real self, or I'm holding on the mind to Shreyas, or I'm holding on the mind to inner peace, or I'm holding on the mind that you are the doer alone. There are a lot of things that we have studied. At one time, you can hold on the mind to asato ma satgamaya, that will work. You hold on the mind on the breath. We are going deeper now from today's lesson. So we have to remember all the time sadhana, upaya, abhyasa. So Patanjali clearly says, and every master says the same thing. Abhyasa means first thing, the holding on the mind, that is clear. Then commitment, regularity, continuity, and the intense aspiration. What that intense aspiration? With cheerfulness. The mind does never says that I don't have time. Mind says I always have time. Whether I'm living a personal, professional, social life, mind has a time inside. Let me use any one of them. Then you will see the life from the day one start changing and the pleasure seeking mind start dropping down. Why? Because now you are cheerful, you are happy, you are enjoying every moment. That particular moment becomes a happy moment. That event becomes a happy moment. Your professional activity becomes a happy moment. Your family activity becomes a happy moment. The desire, pleasure seeking mind does not find any way to enter into you. So it disappears. We need not to fight with it. The moment you fight with the pleasure seeking mind, it will give you more trouble than it will change you. You see that is the beauty of the masters teaching us. They take up job from different points of view. So we have taken at least 5 or 6 different ways. While listening, you can make the bullet point and then take up another point of view. What I'm seeking pleasure. Where? In the world outside. Okay. So let us understand the nature of the world. This world is in flux and it is constantly changing. Whatever you are seeking pleasure in your honey, that pleasure will not remain as it is because you are changing, your body is changing, and the honey is also changing. You cannot take for granted that your honey is like a smartphone material. If you are changing as a human being, he or she is also changing. The world is constantly changing. And if it is constantly changing, nothing belongs to us. If nothing belongs to us, how can you expect a pleasure from an object which does not belong to you? Only the self belongs to you. Warning, you are continuing with the same 5 steps. You are doing Nitya Karma and Naimitya Karma. You are still enjoying. You're doing everything outside. But inside, everything is clear. It is only the mirror. It is not the smartphone. That is why I gave 2 examples. Do you see another perspective of the pleasure? How beautiful it is. Look at another perspective. For pleasure, I have to do something. I have to become the doer.
Yeah.
So if I don't believe that, okay, let me remove that principle, but then the master says, okay, let me believe, let me say, let me believe you that you are the doer and you are the enjoyer. So remember, the doer means that you are doing a karma, and the karma is always defective. Look at it. Now the intellect expands. Mind gains that knowledge. Mind starts dropping that impurity. Mind is now obsession drops. Karma by nature is defective. So what is the defect in that karma? We are going deeper and deeper into sadhana. So why I'm speaking? So just I had a morning group session. After the session, my mind was saying that you should have spoken this. You see the defect? You did not speak this, you should have spoken this. Every time you speak something, give a talk, after the talk, mind says, there is another way, better way to speak. There is a better way to explain the same principle. Karma is always defective. So you enjoy, okay, mind you said so. Let me check it, let me understand, let me absorb it. I will do next time. And the next time you do it, again you find something better than this. One defect. Second defect is it brings profit or loss, victory or defeat, pain or pleasure. They go together. They go together. Honey agreed to me on one thing, I'm very happy. And on the second thing, she disagrees. It is bound to happen. Why she should or he should agree to everything? Karma is always defective. So when I hold on this awareness that let me do as best as possible. Nitya Karma. and forget about the fruits. So I drop the pleasure seeking mind. I'm doing everything as it is outside. Last time you told project, yes, make the project. Why only 1 million? Make a project that will help you get 50 million. So your mind will be happy. You say, I can spare 1 million to this beer guy.
Of course.
Yeah, 50. You see that? 50 million to 1 million. Okay, I can spare. You see that? No, I'm just joking. So karma is always defective. That needs to be understood. So now you see that there is a total inner orientation in my life. I'm sitting on the same table, I'm sitting in the same family, I'm doing the same thing, but the mind is totally free. It is playing, it is enjoying. That mind can instantly hold on to the real self in meditation and can awaken. But we will cover 40 steps. This is only the sixth one. This is only the sixth step. Let me pick up one more because that will be better. All these meditation is basically, you say it is a medicine.
Yeah.
Did I cover that before?
Last time, yes.
So meditation is basically a medicine, but I can go to the chemist, pharmacist, and say, give me five medicine. That will not work. Pharmacist will ask me, what happened to you? What is the disease? So that he knows where the disease is located, so that he can prescribe a specific medicine. I cannot take a medicine of a headache for pain relieving for my constipation. So I must be very clear in my head, in my mind, with the right knowledge, what medicine I should take to a disease in the mind, which is pleasure seeking. But problem is, if the mind agrees that my pleasure seeking mind is a disease, we never think so. We never think so. Come on, let's go to that restaurant and eat. We never say, let us meditate before and find out why we are going to that restaurant. It's a habit. It's mechanical. It's a way of social. It's a social ethics. But for a seeker, even when we go there, the mind inside must be very clear. Go back again. Meditation is a medicine. We have to prescribe medicine for a particular disease. So, pleasure seeking mind is a disease. Do I realize this? I never realize this. When I don't realize this, then the pleasure enters into my mind from the past impression. It triggers, it creates a thought pattern. And then we are obsessed with that thought pattern. We get it. And the mind says, okay, now, pleasure, pain, again. I take you to the path of pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain, cycle of pain, pleasure, likes, dislikes. Do you see that? When you understand, do you see that? So every time, even for 5-10 minutes, I have in my mind seeking pleasure of this object. Let me go back and ask my mind. Mind, did you experience before? Yes, I experienced before. What happened?
I
You
want
see
more.
that what happened? Oh, I, I repeated hundreds of times. Oh, are you going to repeat 101th time? And then you raise your awareness. And all that excitement calms down. It converts into the state of the cheerfulness, and you enjoy that state much more than fulfilling that pleasure. Because the happiness comes from inside. That happiness is revealed from inside. Revealed from inside. Pleasure seeking mind. Pleasure seeking mind. So we will pick up a couple of more things related to this pleasure. You listen to it again and again. Then prepare a bullet points. Here are these principles I can apply as a device, as a sadhana, as a upaya, as a abhyasa. You see that? That is why I added this. Huh? Do you see that? Sadhana, abhyasa, and upaya. Okay, the mind is crazy. Let me do something little more, little more, little more, little more practice, little more. Breathing, okay, hammering, enchanting. That is why I used to give. That is how your mind entered inside, it became clear. And then I gave this last practice of the mantra where it is we are installing these principles in the mind so that whenever the pleasure seeking mind starts working, those principle returns. You see that? Huh? Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. So, with the meaning, Sukha, infinite space, mind was likely to eat pasta, going to a restaurant, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Find out the relationship between the two. And once you find the relationship, your mind will say, oh, what a state of cheerfulness. I was dependent on the pasta. Now, even I have not taken, I experience that inner peace, and that peace is manifesting as happiness. Medicine, you have given a medicine. I'm relating it again. See, you have given a medicine of peace and happiness by upaya, by practice. Result is this, pleasure is gone. I do not need to control pleasure. Pleasure is indication that happiness is my essential nature. So I don't take pleasure as something negative. But through my awareness, through my sadhana, I realize constant seeking pleasure returns to pain, the opposing tendencies. This causes lot of impressions in the mind, like a smartphone. And then smartphone has an app. One picture can be reformatted in millions of ways. That causes the vasanas in my mind. I have to get rid of this vasana. If I don't get rid of this vasana, I cannot absorb